this was our life now, this was normal to us. My daughter, Rose, when she was 6, she was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, which is a rare and aggressive form of bone cancer. We weren't doing gym clubs and ballet. We were doing lung surgery and, metal legs. But this was,
a different world.
You just keep adapting. Yeah. It's so against the natural order.
None of it makes sense.
That none of it makes sense. You're in this sort of no man's land of, I can't move forward, but I'm paralyzed. Nobody that I know feels safe to talk to about this. I eventually thought, this is my only route forward. This is the only thing I know I'm going to know how to do, is I need to share all this.
Hello and welcome to A Bunch of Therapists with me, Michaela McCarthy.
And me, Dipti Solanki. We'll be bringing you stories and insights from inside the therapy room.
And this week we have a therapist called Charlotte.
Yes.
She has... I think it was very brave of her to share her story. She lost one of her children.
Yeah.
And I think that must be one of the hardest losses you could actually go through.
Yeah, and I think anyone who's listening, it's important that they know that this episode is going to be about child loss. Charlotte's story is incredibly powerful, filled with a lot of pain but also hope. I think she's done incredible work in turning her pain into purpose.
Yeah.
And it's a privilege to hear that story.
Yeah.
Welcome to A Bunch of Therapists, Charlotte. Really good to see you today.
Thanks for having me on. Lovely to be here.
Let's dive straight in. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and how going into therapy plays a part in that?
Sure. So it's slightly complicated in that I had a couple of false starts with going into therapy myself.
Okay.
And it was probably not what we would call therapy. It was probably more counselling in my very first experience. But I had, and this isn't really my story for the day, but I had in my 20s, I had my first baby in my late 20s, and I really wobbled. My husband worked abroad, my parents lived in France, my siblings had young families of their own, and I really struggled. So with a very supportive GP, I had some sort of GP counselling sessions, and she was lovely. It was probably more of a chat, but it was very supportive in an environment where I didn't have much support.
So were you struggling at that time?
Yeah, having a
mum
baby really triggered massive anxiety for me. I think I was always I was an anxious teen. I think I was an anxious child. And I now look back and realise, I was very blasé about having a baby. I thought I was working as a freelance journalist. I thought, well, how hard can it be? I'll just carry on doing that.
Depends on the baby. Some babies are really easy and some a bit more difficult.
Yeah. He was fine. I just found it very, very, I was very alone.
Huge life change as well, though.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And there was just nobody there. And I remember sitting in this room with this counsellor thinking, no one's coming. No one's coming. And this is on me. And it was broadly terrifying. But what kind of got me through that? She was great. I had probably only half a dozen sessions with her. But what actually got me through was you make a great network of other young mums that are going through the same thing to a greater or lesser extent. And it was fine. And, life got sort of back to normal, but that was my first taste. And then a few years went by and we had our second baby. And I was very nervous that the same thing was going to happen again, and it didn't. I was really good at it by then.
That sense of isolation.
You had a bit of practice.
I had a bit of practice. I knew how to be a mum. I really loved it. I had this great network of friends. Life was up and running. And you kind of think that's your future and that life's just going to roll on like that. And then when my daughter, Rose, who was our second baby, when she was 6, so, a few years had gone by of very happy parenting, she was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, which is a rare and aggressive form of bone cancer.
Right.
And it's really strange because I still say that line, and it's like I'm saying it in a story. It's like I'm still sort of disbelieving myself. I'm still kind of incredulous that is what happened.
But thank you for sharing that here.
It is what happened. It's
but I think it must be really, really hard for parents when a child becomes so unwell, and there's so many parents out there listening and watching, right? And are going through the same thing. But it must be so isolating.
It is, and immediately I sort of liken it a bit to being on an ice floe and the rest of the world and all your parent friends are back on their sort of mainland ice. And they're all together and you're on your little ice floe moving sort of further and further away. And the language that you are using and the things that you are doing every day just become more and more alien from your peer group.
You're in a different group.
What was your life looking like on a day-to-day? How did it change?
It's fast and furious. You don't really get much of a chance to, I suppose you sort of think these things are a bit like the television and, it's all going to be handled unbelievably sensitively. And of course it was. But in reality, Rose was watching a Disney DVD with a nurse, and we were behind a curtain being told by a registrar who was young and frightened that he had never seen it. He'd only ever seen it in a textbook. But he thought she had bone cancer, and it was a Good Friday afternoon, and we'd just been out but she had this lump that we'd just literally noticed that morning on her thigh. And we thought, that's a bit odd, let's get that checked out. And it's fast and furious. Suddenly, you don't have much time to process. You're in and out of hospitals, and you're on a train. You're on a sort of cancer train, a pediatric cancer train. And we were our own, and we also had Felix, who was just
And how old was he?
Felix was 10.
Okay.
So Simon came out of work. His company were incredibly supportive. And we did tag parenting for a year. We alternated. One of us would be in hospital with Rose for 2 nights. One of us would be at home with Felix for 2 nights. And we kind of kept the show on the road, really-ish. And our most precious moments were when we could all go together to the hospital, and Felix wasn't in school, and we, and they were amazing together, and Felix was always amazing with her, and she adored him, and you kind of think, this is all going to be fine. This is all going to be fine. And for a while it did look like that. She had major surgery. She had to relearn. She had basically a metal femur put in. Then we were in hospital for nearly a year having chemotherapy. But when she came out, we thought we're going to rebuild life. She was amazing. She had an incredible attitude to the whole thing. She was very positive and carefree and fun-loving. So she was the right kind of child, the right kind of personality.
She was quite robust.
For this to happen to. She was very robust. And we even went back to school. I went back to school with her. I sort of sat outside her classroom for a term. But she got sick again. Suddenly she had, you have these regular heart-stopping checkups where you just scrutinize the expression on the consultant's face when you walk in and think, so how was that scan? Just say something quickly. And they do jump in and say, it's all good, Charlotte. It's all good, Simon. She's fine. Until the day they don't.
Yeah.
Until the day.
But it's a bit like walking in and sort of checking out the energy.
Yeah.
Like walking in on eggshells. How's it going to be?
And immediately. The day that you walk in and they say, have a seat. And you think, I found something else. And she had tumours on her lungs. And they still said, it's all right. They spring up, we mow them down. We just keep going. She's going to be fine. And you think, oh, okay, she's going to be fine. And so we had lung surgery, which again, Rose took in her stride. You're thinking, how many more scars can this, little girl have across her body? She was brutalized in terms of surgery. But we just kept going. This was our life now. This was normal to us. We weren't doing gym clubs and ballet. We were doing lung surgery and, metal legs. But this was, a
different world.
You just keep adapting. And again, you think, okay, we keep going. But then one night she came into our room and said, my shoulder really hurts. And that was how it had started with the leg. My leg hurts. My shoulder really hurts, Mummy. And you just think, no, please, no. And actually we went back to her consultant and he said, guys, normal things are going to happen to her. She's going to pull a muscle. She's going to, maybe she's just got a sore shoulder. And we were like, okay. But, 2 weeks later, it was still hurting. And they said, we better scan her. And it was back. The bone cancer was back. And then it was quite fast. Then they sort of said it's kind of everywhere. It was the most extraordinary meeting in that Rose was still so well. I mean, she was so well. Cancer is the most extraordinary and devious thing because she's seen, if she'd kind of just been in the room with you, you would have thought she's fine. And yet you're in a room with a consultant who is saying there is actually now nothing we can do.
That must have been quite something.
Well, you actually don't really believe it.
But my guess is, you tell me, that when each time you went in, then she recovered, she's robust and she recovered.
Yeah.
You think, no, it's going to happen again.
Yes. That and they start to sort of say, oh, we could put her in a clinical trial. And you think, okay, well, that will be the thing then. There will be something.
Always
there
a bit of hope.
Definitely be something. But quite quickly, the pain took over. There's no pretty way to die from bone cancer. There's no pain-free way to die from bone cancer. It's really evil. So within a few months, our lives were just about pain management. I mean, she came home. We were really, it was actually 6 months. So it was arduous. For Rose, she stayed incredibly, she didn't really know. I mean, that was the other, we were leading these very difficult, we had an older child who we didn't want to put in the position of there's nothing they can do for Rose anymore. So we were slightly living on two levels. We took a view that if Rose ever asked us, we would be completely honest.
And your son, did he ask?
So I told Felix about a month before she died, and I thought by then he had worked it out, but in hindsight, I don't think he had. He was still only, he was 12 by then.
He's probably thinking, well, she got better before, she'll get better again.
She'll get better again. And again, I think children just, like adults, you believe that the medical profession will work it all out.
But I think
somehow.
also when you're little, even 12's little to me, but when you're young, you think you're going to live forever.
Yes.
You don't have that.
Yeah.
Neither of them asked us outright. So
what was that conversation with Felix like?
It was very short. I said we were actually coming back because my father then died. So my father died just before Rose. And Felix and I went alone to my father's funeral. Obviously, Rose was too ill and one of us had to stay with Rose. So Felix and I went, and on the way back, I spelt it out and he just sort of took it. And I wasn't in the moment entirely sure whether it was breaking news or whether it was just confirming something that was his worst fear. I think having had the conversation in the years that have gone by, I think he was really shocked. And I don't think he had realised that it was that and that we were close. Because by that stage she was, in order to be on top of the pain, she had to be, I felt like I was running a drugs den by the end. She was on...
Well, you become the professional.
Oh, yes.
Right? You
and
know
she was
everything
on
about everything.
morphine and ketamine and that's very sad because you stop being the mum who can just sit by the side of the bed and read a story and you start being the nurse that is thinking, oh, what time did we, do that and what time... So the roles get very blurred.
And can I just come in? So with losing your dad... Was that a shock or was he unwell or?
He had Alzheimer's.
Okay.
So in some ways it was a bit of a blessed release. He was by that stage in a home.
Okay.
He wouldn't have known who Rose was, or by that stage I think the only person he knew was my mum.
Okay.
So, and I had they were living in Exeter. I had very limited access to them because I was with Rose all the time. So although it was a shock, it hardly touched the sides
because of what you were going
because
through.
of what we were going through. And actually, even at the time for my brother and sister, I think everybody's focus was on what is happening to Rose. So it was awful, but he was probably late 70s.
It's almost like psychologically we kind of think you get to an age and then you die.
Yeah.
Okay, but when you're with a baby, a little one, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's so against the natural order.
None of it makes sense.
That none of it makes sense. And also the difficulty with Rose was small children are programmed to live. So the palliative care team at the Marsden were kind of shocked at how long she was, it sounds awful to say it like this, but at how long she was taking to die. Because she was programmed to live. And every other cell in her body, apart from these cancerous cells, were programmed to be growing and replicating and doing what a normal, by now, 8-year-old should be doing.
Did she know what was happening to her?
She didn't like any of it. She didn't like by this stage she had, drips in her arm and she had all her and she was bedbound. So the first few months when Felix could still get in from school and do his homework in her room and they could watch TV together and have tea together, that was kind of almost normal. But the last month to 2 months, it really wasn't like that. It was very much Felix coming in and her being very, very unwell or asleep. Just asleep rather than sort of unconscious, but very drugged. And finding it increasingly difficult to express what she wanted, water or to go to the loo or, it was appalling. And it happened in the end. It happened. And that's almost as much of a shock as you being told it's going to happen. The day comes when all this life around your entire purpose of pain relief and pain management and managing the day,
that's gone.
Stops because in the night it has happened.
And were you there with her?
We weren't.
Okay.
We were asleep. And, you know, that's awful. And something that neither of us will ever get over, really. And then they say all these things about, oh, they wait for you to not be there and they wait for you. And you just think, I was there all the time. Why couldn't you have just died when I was with you? So straight into shock, I think. Again, more shock. And quite quickly then thinking, I need someone to talk to.
If you're enjoying A Bunch of Therapists, why not like, subscribe and share with a friend?
Nobody that I know feels safe to talk to about this. And almost the opposite, almost I went into a kind of demonic, I'm fine, I'm busy being magnificent and coping for Felix. And
do you feel like that was expected of you as well?
not really. I think I probably put that on me.
Yeah.
But I wonder whether that was a coping mechanism for you. Because because you'd obviously been caring for your daughter and then you've got your son where he needs care too. But to actually then that's not there.
Yeah.
It's like, what the F do you do?
Yeah.
Okay, what am I going to do here? And I think sometimes, however we are as people, we need to put that into place to support ourselves.
Yeah.
Just to get through
Just
the
to
day,
survive.
the next day, the week.
Yeah.
The funeral. I mean, that's like...
I mean, it's just, it's rolling on almost. I look back now and I think I was barely present for any of it. But I remember talking to a friend and she said, I have a therapist. And would you like me to ask her if she can see you? I didn't know anything about
How many years
therapy.
ago was this?
So Rose died, it's going to be 15 years this year.
Okay.
So it's going
it's
back.
Before socials.
She died in 2010.
Okay, so it's before socials.
Yes.
You know, to find a therapist, it was recommendation.
Yes.
It was different then.
Yes.
And also death and dying wasn't talked about so openly either.
I mean, it's still not enough.
No,
but
I agree.
It's better.
Especially losing a child.
Sure.
But when you're looking for a therapist, or I, as you say, I wasn't really looking, and somebody was put my way, all the things I know now about therapy and the different disciplines and the different, I don't know anything about that.
Well,
I just
but that's
thought,
probably not a bad thing.
No, except I ended up in the wrong room.
Okay.
So I sort of said to my friend, yeah, great. If she's somebody who you rate, I'm sure. And don't get me wrong, she was a lovely lady.
But maybe not for you.
No, and she wasn't
the right person.
bereavement.
Okay.
She was very, very psychodynamic, very, I mean, she was a much older, I mean, I was in my early 40s. She was, I'm going to say, in her early 70s. She was very sort of classical. You walk in, you sit down, nothing is said. She barely spoke in any of our sessions. I saw her for such a long time, but I spent quite a lot of that time trying to leave, knowing that it just wasn't right.
What did trying to leave look like?
What did trying to leave look like?
Yes.
I remember actually saying once, actually overtly trying to leave and saying, I might not come anymore. And this therapist said back to me, which I'll never forget, is it money? And I said, no, not necessarily financial. I just might not come. And she said, I just don't understand, if it's not money, why you just wouldn't have it every week. And I remember literally in the moment thinking, wow, that's quite arrogant. It's obviously never entered your head that you might not be
the right person
serving me, or however many other of you. I was really struck by that. So, of course, it's because all I wanted to do was talk about Rose. And I thought that's what therapy would be, that it would be a space where week after week I talked about Rose.
And that's what you needed.
Because I couldn't do that with my friends. Because, I mean, I could have done it a bit, but you just can't. And I didn't want to do it with my family either. So, and Simon and I were, it's difficult. You are in different
he
places.
He has his grief and you've got your
grief.
His
and
son's got his
you
grief.
never get the moment right. And so I thought, this is the space. I'm just going to take photos and I'm going to tell her, every little thing from when Rose was But I sort of told the story in the first session, a bit like I've told you guys. And then that was kind of it. And I felt like the next session, I should have moved on to something else. And that we talked then about Felix and how he was managing. And I was thinking, when do I get to talk about Rose? Or I would talk about Rose and I would get so unzipped. And then literally at 10:02, she would say, we need to leave it there, which is something I've really taken away. I never, ever, ever do that. I mean, I'm boundaried with time, but there are so many ways of doing that.
Rather than it being abrupt end.
That, give people plenty of warning. And so anyway, it was actually quite...
How long did you stay with her?
Oh, honestly, Michaela, if I told you, you would just...
No, just tell us, go on.
About 4 years.
But I wonder, right, where would you have gone?
I don't know.
Do you see what I mean? It's a bit like, well, I'm here, and it's not as if you've got, thousands of therapists on, there's profiles of therapists, therapist of therapists.
Yeah.
That didn't exist, and you didn't know where they were. So where would you go?
I probably should have gone to somewhere where I then ended up working with. I probably should have gone to somewhere like Cruise, Bereavement, and found my way into a more of a niche. I mean, I don't know if the sort of child loss groups that I can recommend to clients now did exist. By then, it would have been 10 years ago. But it was difficult, but in a way, it was really making me think. There's such, and I was working I was working client facing by then. I was in complementary therapy. And I was really aware that what I was so fascinated by and enjoyed in that was the one-to-one, was the working alliance, was the relationship. That if I put a nutrition plan together for somebody, it went better if they and I had a working alliance. That even if I was offering a touch therapy, the effects would be better if we had a working alliance. And I was just, this awareness was really coming. And I wanted to bereavement counsel. They don't let you for such a long time.
Yeah.
So you feel like more doors are being slammed. There were so many doors that were slammed around that time. We couldn't look at adoption because we were too recently bereaved.
Yeah.
I couldn't work as a bereavement therapist because I was too recently bereaved. You're in this sort of no man's land of, I can't move forward, but I'm paralyzed.
And you didn't get what you needed from the therapist.
And
either.
I didn't get what I needed from the therapist. So
where did you go?
Well, actually, by the time I finished with her, I think I was allowed to train with Cruise. And in a way, that became my outlet. I thought, I didn't go straight back. I didn't go back into therapy until I started training as a therapist. And then I had a fantastic experience.
And just going back a bit, when you went to Cruise, did you meet other people that had lost children?
No, not really. Nobody that had lost a child.
Yeah.
I met people who had lost in the natural order of things, people that had maybe got interested in bereavement counselling because they'd maybe lost a parent.
Yeah.
But the training is very, very good. It's very thorough. I still work with them. I think I always will. I think I just kind of have to. And that slightly scratched the itch for me. I thought, okay, I'm on the other side of the phone, Zoom, whatever, camera, but I'm talking about, and I wasn't talking about Rose, but I'm talking about loss, and I have a lot to share. And it worked. And then by this stage I was circling doing it properly. I mean, I was thinking, come on, you're too old to do it now. But I was also thinking, no, you've just got a lot of experience. And if you look, right back to sort of everything that happened in my 20s and then Rose, and a couple of years after, I don't want this to sound like a pity podcast, but a couple of years after Rose died, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, which almost feels like an aside in my life now, because don't get me wrong, it's not fun, and it was shocking and frightening. But as you said, compared to the loss of a child, again, it didn't really touch the sides. And the terror for my son was probably the most difficult thing.
How old was he then?
So at that point, he was 16.
So he was be more aware.
Yes. And I remember, I mean, I have no faith or religion. I wish I did, because I kind of think it would be so much easier and so comforting if I did. But I remember doing all that bargaining where I would say to myself, if I can stay well and get him to uni, through uni, please, I'll do anything. Just please, can this go okay? And I don't take remission for granted. Every year I still put the Christmas decorations away and think, I wonder if I'll see them again. I still feel like that. And it was a grim year of, chemo, 10 cycles of chemo and a year of immunotherapy treatment and endless hospital. And I still have all of that. I still have,
when did you sort of get the cancer free? And then
they sort of say at 5 years, so I guess 4 or 5 years ago. But there are no cast irons, and it does come back. I mean, I think now it can still be treated. I think even secondary breast cancer can be treated quite long term. It doesn't live with me in the way that losing Rose lives with me. I remember thinking when Rose died, I want to be 5 years on from now because I'll be over this. And I knew nothing. I didn't realize then that I would live every day thinking of the age and stage she would be at.
Yeah.
That I would take her GCSEs with her, that I would take her A-levels with her, that I would send her off to uni in my head, that I would go through her first partner in my head. That now I would be thinking, what should we all do for Christmas? Rather than thinking, Christmas is my worst nightmare and how do I get through that? And there's so much more of it to come. She would have, I mean, who knows, but she may have got married, had children, she and Felix would have had cousins for each other. It's loss after loss after loss. It's
grief of what could have been.
It's a bereavement every day.
So, and also for your son.
Yes.
Because he's the child that grows up, that does the milestones.
Yes, and the responsibility of that.
And then it's like saying to people, well, I did have a sister. Yeah.
And we never deny her. So, because that's one of your early days questions is, how many children do you have? And I mean, I do gauge it. If it's someone I'm never going to see again, I would probably just say one.
Yeah.
But if I try very hard to just think, sorry, I don't care if this is difficult for you.
Yeah.
And I say, I had two, but actually one died, and I just have Felix now. And then they say, oh, I'm so sorry. And I say, it's absolutely fine. I just don't like to not acknowledge her.
Yeah, because she's your child, your family.
Yeah, Felix equally doesn't say, I'm an only child. I think he gauges it. But I would like to think that more often than not, he is able now as a young man to say, yeah, I had a sister. And we talk about that, the three of us, and we talk about the importance of her she's on there's a little Rose on our family WhatsApp group. She's part of us.
But she's part of your family.
Absolutely.
Because she existed.
Yeah.
And I think people need to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
On that, I think I've been wanting to ask you this since you started to speak. Can you tell us about Rose, what she was like?
Yeah, she was fabulous, Dipti. She was, I would say that. I'm honestly not looking back. You know, she's not on a pedestal. She was a minx. She was very naughty.
So she would have been probably as a teenager a nightmare.
Oh, she'd have literally run rings around us. Whereas Felix was actually quite good. He wasn't a very challenging teenager, I have to say. She would have been hell, but she would have been a ton of fun. She was incredibly confident and she was robust, which were qualities that got her through. Even in hospital, she could make friends, she could socialise, she could make friends with other children, she could make friends with the nurses. She charmed.
She was very adaptable.
She was very adaptable. I often felt she was my support. I often felt she was stronger than I was in hospital. We sort of took our lead from her. She was phenomenal. And we've put on her headstone, you know, brave and brilliant. And she really was brave and brilliant. And what she had to endure in terms of just, you know, her body being absolutely, you know, taken apart was incredible. And she was stoical. But yet at school, she had great friends. She was into everything. She did do everything. She and Felix were incredibly close. Yeah, she was great.
So the life she had, she actually made a good go of it.
She really did make a good go of it. And, you know, right until the last few weeks, really, she was getting stuff out of life. She was, you know, because I mean, people were bringing litters of puppies round to her bedside. And I mean, people go all out.
Yeah.
The hospitals are sending clowns, you know, to your door, and, you know, the Marsden are amazing. The palliative team are amazing. So, you know, she was well looked after until those things weren't relevant or important anymore. But yeah, she was well looked after while every second counted while it could.
So when you got cancer, breast
Yes.
cancer, with the strength of Rose,
Yes.
did you keep her in mind, how strong she was?
Absolutely.
And think,
And
if she
what-
could get through it, I can do this.
Absolutely. And what I had to go through was nothing compared to what she had to go through. I mean, yeah, I had surgery, I lost a breast. It was a year of treatment, but I came home every night. I came home and cooked supper and then lay around for a few days and then had a couple of weeks where I was kind of fine. It was nothing compared to what Rose went through. And I mean, I was very frightened and I was very shocked. And I was very frightened for Simon and Felix,
Which
sounds really arrogant. It sounds
well, it's
like,
not, because they've already had a massive
Exactly.
loss. And to then have another massive loss in the
Yes.
family,
I couldn't believe the cluster.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And yet at the same time, the body keeps the score, the Bessel van der Kolk approach, that I absolutely could believe it. I absolutely could, but I absolutely couldn't believe that the sky had fallen in again. But again, you go back into that sort of coping mechanism and the shock and the busy coping and, okay, I've got to get Felix through his A levels now and I've got to beat this and I've got to keep everything normal. And the strain of that, I didn't realise was quite as big as it was because I finished my breast cancer treatment. Felix finished his A levels. Felix went to university. And suddenly my whole purpose for holding the whole shit show together
had gone.
Right.
And
Another loss.
then I did fall apart. The anxiety really did
And
take
did you
over.
go into therapy then?
I had some interventions,
Okay.
but it wasn't really until I didn't go back into therapy. I think I was quite frightened off therapy by my experience after losing Rose. I thought, well, therapy isn't for me. I think I thought I just did it wrong. I did therapy wrong. I didn't know how to do therapy. Or therapy isn't what I thought it was. And so when I started training as a therapist, which I eventually thought, this is my only route forward. This is the only thing I know I'm going to know how to do, is I need to share all this. And I went into therapy and I met this woman who was collaborative. It was warm. It was empathetic. I felt I could say anything to her. I felt safe. And I thought, oh, this is therapy. This is the therapist I want to be. I already knew that the therapy I'd had was the absolute, reverse of what I wanted to be. But working with my own therapist, I thought, don't get me wrong, we had sessions where I thought, wow, but that is therapy where, nothing much really happened, or we didn't really do anything, or actually I was incredibly avoidant today and I didn't get near anything.
But that's life, isn't it?
That's life. That's life. That's therapy. So
all of that, what has that meant for the kind of therapist you are now today?
So I try so hard to meet my clients where they are rather than sitting right back. I know that I'm not directive. I'm not didactic. I don't lead sessions, but I don't want to be the power in the room. And I think I felt that very much when I had this difficult 4-year experience. I felt with her great seniority in years, with her professional gravitas, although that didn't really mean very much, that she was the powerful person and I was the weak, little, unhappy, paralyzed client. I would hate a client of mine to feel like that ever.
But I always say to people, you may go into therapy and the therapist's just not right for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a relationship's not right for you. A friendship's not right. A job's not right for you. It's just not the environment. But people stay.
And I think we can't repeat that enough because they do stay. It's really important for us.
But then they won't try again.
I'm constantly giving them permission to go, to the point that my supervisor said the other day, be careful you don't make them feel rejected.
Yeah, you want to kick them out.
Because I'm constantly saying, let's review goals and expectations. Please don't feel stuck. Please, you'll never hurt my feelings if you will, but I will man up to it. You'll never hurt my feelings if you just say, I think the time's right for me to try this without you. And when I do the intro call before they start, I do repeat a couple of times. I think it's really important to speak. I hope you're speaking to, 2 or 3 people. I think it's the most important thing is the relationship between you and I. And that is evidence-based, that, therapy will always go better if the alliance is good. So it's really important for you to feel like you're a good fit with me, rather than just, I can do Wednesdays at 1. Can you do Wednesdays at 1? Great. And suddenly they're booked in without them thinking, okay. So I do emphasize the importance of shopping around because I didn't ever do that. I emphasize the importance of, always feel, if even then you do 2 or 3 sessions and you think, no, I thought she sounded great on the phone, but actually I don't think this is right for me. Saying then, I don't think this is right for me, and not being worried. And of knowing that you are in control of whether or not you feel you've come to the end of the work you want to do for now. And you might want to come back. Always leaving the door open.
So Charlotte, for our listeners and our viewers,
yes,
if there were one thing that they could take from our conversation and everything that you've shared, and like from the bottom of my heart, thank you for sharing so openly about
thank you for listening.
Rose and your journey, your incredible, incredible journey. What would you like people to take away from this conversation?
I think, and I hope people think this in today's world more than they did maybe 15 years ago, that it's out there. Support is out there, and it's not self-indulgence, I think, is what my takeaway would be. It's self-care, it's self-kindness, I always say to clients, it's exploring your past to look at your present in order to live your best future. I know it doesn't feel accessible to everybody, and I'm not blasé about that. But there are charities, there are low-cost setups, spend a bit less on your hair,
Mm.
drop a few takeout coffees. There are ways of prioritizing it. We prioritize our physical health in an ideal world. We maintain our cars. I just want people to take their mental health as seriously, because I feel passionate about it, because I think I literally embody somebody who once I realized that, my own life is transformed. And I now want that for people out there that are really struggling, or maybe not even able to put a name to their feelings.
But that's the key, isn't it? Because people can't always name their feelings, because pain can feel pain.
But just the finding a space where you can share the things that you can't share with anyone else.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for coming on A Bunch of Therapists.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks, both.
Great. You've been listening to A Bunch of Therapists with me, Michaela McCarthy, and Dipti Solanki.
And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to review, like and subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcasts, and do follow us on our socials. Until next time, see you soon.